We good?
Yep.
Greg, can
We
you turn
live.
off the audio and video? Awesome. What's going on?
Ooh.
What app is this? Blue Jeans?
Yeah, man.
I'm looking for a
Burgundy
Zoom link in my
jeans.
email. I couldn't find it. I'm texting Copeland. Like, yo, send me the link.
That's all right. Sorry about that.
Super prepared.
You're good. Awesome.
NFL.
Well, hi everybody. Thank you all for joining. Hope everyone is doing well wherever you may be. My name is Matt Batnick, and on behalf of the Wharton Undergrad Sports Business Club and the Wharton Sports Analytics and Business Initiative, we're super excited to be hosting our Penn Football alum in the NFL panel today. I'm going to get started and introduce our guests. A reminder that throughout the presentation, you can submit questions into the Q&A box feature, and we'll try to select some at the end to ask them when we're done with the presentation. So with that, I'll get started. So Greg Van Roten graduated from Penn in 2012 with a BS in Econ and a concentration in marketing, was a two-time first-team All-Ivy selection. He spent his first 2 years in the NFL with the Packers and then spent time over the next 3 years with the Seahawks, Jags, and the Toronto Argonauts of the CFL before settling in with the Panthers prior to 2018. Over the past 2 seasons, he started 27 games, including being the only Panther to start and play in every single snap on offense in 2018. And just last month, he signed a 3-year free agent contract with the New York Jets. Brandon Copeland graduated from Penn in 2013 with a BS in econ and a concentration in management, specializing in innovation entrepreneurship. He was the captain of the 2012 Ivy League champ Quakers. Undrafted out of school, he spent time on the practice squads for the Ravens and Titans before signing with the Lions prior to 2015. He spent 2 seasons in Detroit before coming over to the Jets prior to 2018. Over the past 2 years, started 13 games there, collected 6.5 sacks, and then this offseason, he stayed in the division and signed with the New England Patriots. And lastly, we have Justin Watson, who graduated from Penn in 2018 with a BS in econ and a concentration in finance. Two-time Ivy League champ, three-time All-Ivy selection. Watson had an incredible career at Penn, all-time leader in receptions, receiving yards, receiving touchdowns, and all-purpose yards. He was a fifth-round pick of the Tampa Bay Bucs in 2018, the first Quaker drafted since 2002, and he spent his last 2 seasons in Tampa Bay. So first off, thank you guys so much for coming. Really appreciate it. Really excited to have you. Just first want to ask how you guys are doing. Obviously, I know times are a bit weird right now, so how have you guys been keeping busy during quarantine? What have you guys been up to? Where are you? Things of that sort.
Been great. Been great. I'll go ahead and hop out there. I think we've been I've been great. I've been trying to maximize the time, being with the family and all that type of stuff. Obviously it sucks, it's different, but I think one thing we all can attest to as football players, our job is to be prepared for anything and being able to adjust and deal with, I guess the key word when we were at Penn, Greg and I, was being able to deal with adversity. We've been battle tested for that. And so now, this is another one of those tests, so to speak, in terms of preparation and everything like that. So.
Yeah, it's been, like Cope said, different. Normally we'd be with the full team in OTAs right now. So certainly different. We're going through virtual OTAs, which have been fruitful. But yeah, man, no complaints. I'm in Tampa. The weather's been gorgeous, and finding different ways to still get workouts in. And like Cope said, we're lucky that working out is part of our job, and it's we haven't been affected severely in that sense. So it feels good, still be able to get a workout in and feeling like you accomplished your work for the day as an athlete.
Yeah, so I'm in Long Island, New York. So we obviously have had quite a different experience than the rest of the country when it comes to this whole lockdown. And honestly, the first, month and a half or so wasn't too different for me as far as an off season goes. It wasn't like, we were super limited. Just like those are pretty much like a dead period for us anyway in regards to football. And then it's been weird. Like Justin said, OTA starting and you have these virtual meetings. So you're kind of like, I'm on a new team. So it's a new offense. Trying to get a feel for the guys in the room and just kind of try and build some sort of rapport virtually has been difficult. And it's definitely a challenge, but, everyone's experiencing it together. So I guess that's the kind of fairness of it all. But yeah, it's weird, and it's a weird time for everybody, and especially for football players.
For sure. And that's like a perfect transition to what I wanted to go into next, which is just asking each of you individually about your off seasons, because you've all had major shifts, either switching organizations or like personnel shifts. So, I mean, Greg, I'll just start with you. I think you've really been like a testament, I guess, to kind of what the NFL has to offer, given that you started off undrafted, then you're starter, now you just signed like a legit free agent contract, and not only a legit free agent contract, but as you said, you're from Long Island, New York. I too am from Long Island, New York, so we're probably not too far from each other right now. And I know you grew up a Jets fan. So if you could just speak a bit to what that's like now coming home, and again, like how you've been acclimated into this new organization, like given the circumstances.
Well, as a Long Islander, that growing up a Jets fan and then getting to play for the team, but not being able to go to the facility or meet anybody is a very Jets thing to happen. So it was cool to be a free agent, at first, and then it was kind of frustrating because part of that experience is you're supposed to be able to visit teams and see facilities and get a feel for the city and kind of, make a better informed decision of, what's a good fit for me personality wise and schematically. And yeah, I grew up a Jets fan. So once I knew that they were interested, it was like, all right, it's going to be impossible to say no just from a sentimentality standpoint. And, I just got a box yesterday with some Jets workout gear. So I was like super excited, like kid on Christmas, like, all right, awesome. We got some shirts, some shorts, a hat. So it's becoming more real. And hopefully, we can get to training camp and have a more normal experience, and then who knows what's going to happen in the fall with the games. But we're all in the same boat. We're all figuring out together, and we're just kind of seeing how's this going to shake out.
For sure. And Cope, I'll go to you next. I mean, so you could have been teammates with Greg, but you moved on this offseason. You're going north to Foxborough. Obviously, a bit of a different situation there this year, but expectations are like still sky high. I assume internally the same holds. I guess same question to you in terms of how you're acclimating to the new franchise, but also, what are you most looking forward to being able to play for Coach Belichick in like such a franchise with rich history over the past 20 something years?
Yeah, I think as one of my buddies put it, Dave Twomley, who is another Penn grad, he said, you get an opportunity to get your MBA in football, right? Learning from the greatest coach, arguably the greatest coach of all time. So I'm super excited. I mean, even just from, the way we've gone about meetings and how detailed and nuanced everything is, it's been a very, very welcome change of pace in terms of my entire NFL career and journey and everything. So I'm super excited. Like you said, like Greg said, I'm missing out on getting to to meet the players and building that rapport and getting guys, one of the things you get by working out together in the off season is starting to understand who you can trust, who's going to push through when they're tired, who's that person you can kind of lean on. And you're missing that right now. However, it is what it is. At a certain point in time, it's football, right? And the fortunate thing about us three on this call at this point, which is, the beautiful thing, because at some point in time, we might have looked at the obstacles in front of us and been like, wow, like this might not ever be able to happen. But we're all NFL veterans right now. So at least we're in a league where we know how it's going. We know the how the show goes, so to speak. And we can pick up where we left off, as opposed to coming into the league right now as an undrafted free agent or a drafted player as a rookie. And now this being your first chance of getting to know the league, right? Like as an undrafted free agent right now, this is a tough time to try to make the team. You don't have the opportunities to get in front of your coaches and to make plays in practice, and preseason games potentially being gone, right? So again, I figured, look at the glasses half full and maximize every opportunity.
For sure. No, it totally makes sense. And it's weird how like things between the three of you are all kind of going full circle. So Greg went to the Jets, you left the Jets, you went to New England, and then Jay Watt, I don't know. People were starting. You may have a new quarterback. I don't know. So if you could just speak a little bit to that, people are starting to murmur, whatever it is. So how's that been? Have you been communicating with Tom? Obviously, you guys are, in totally different circumstances, personnel potentially changing. What's that transition been like for you and communicating with not only someone who's new throwing you the ball, but someone of his standard and with his accolades?
Yeah, man, it's been a pretty exciting offseason for the Bucs, and just it was fun being in and around the building when some of this news was happening. Just because our ticket people were on the phones nonstop, and then seeing the wait list on lines for tickets, and trying to get a friend of mine some season tickets the other day, and I think they said like the entire lower bowl was sold out, and most of the upper decks. So that combined with I think we had one primetime game in each of my first 2 seasons, and we have 5 next year, and so things like that. Obviously aren't the reason why you play football, but certainly something that I'm excited for, and hoping we can get some fans, in the stadium, and so I can finally see what a packed house looks like at Raymond James down here in Tampa. But I haven't been able to work out with him yet. There's been some group text conversations, and I think I'll be out there within the next couple of weeks throwing with him. But everything I've heard, it's just been, like I said, very refreshing. Just all the accolades and everything that and hear about him. You would expect some sense of entitlement coming to a team that hasn't won in some time, but man, he's just extremely humble. Seems like every time someone says that, if they dropped a pass or something, he's always saying, "Hey, that was my fault. That I got to put you in a better spot. I got to get you better balls." So he's just been very humble from every experience that I've seen or had with him.
Awesome. Yeah, no, obviously like really exciting all seasons for all you guys. So hopefully things, work out. It's up in the air, but really hope to see you all in the field this year. So I guess I just want to take a step back for a second, kind of go back to your time at Penn, and really kind of assess how you feel like being a student athlete at Penn prepared you for the transition to the NFL. I know Cope was talking before a little bit about like overcoming adversity and what that means, and like how you kind of got a unique vantage point coming from Penn. So I guess I'd really just love to hear what you feel like you uniquely gained that you wouldn't have learned or been exposed to elsewhere coming into the league.
Gotcha. You want me to hit that first?
You were just alluding to it before. If you want to go ahead.
Oh, my bad. Sorry. Let me pick up where I left off. Yeah. So now I think for me personally, I think compartmentalization. I think that's the biggest thing, when being able to switch gears quickly, especially as a multifaceted player. For me personally, I remember there was one game in Detroit, my first year back into the NFL as an active player, and it was the second game of the season, played Tennessee Titans. A bunch of guys went down, but I went from defensive end to middle linebacker to weak side linebacker. And basically I played a bunch of positions, and some of which that I hadn't even played or practiced ever in my career, type of thing, right? And so that versatility, which has kept me in the league, and then also switching from special teams and stuff like that. I think compartmentalization is something that we have to do as Penn students, in the sense of like, okay, I'm in this class, I'm in this exam now. Okay, boom. Especially as an athlete at Penn, now I'm going to lift, or these guys know morning workouts, right? Like waking up at 5:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, walking down to Franklin Field in the snow, and then going to do a morning workout, changing really quickly, and then going up to whatever class or lecture you have, right? Being able to just switch gears really quickly, and when you're in that gear, be 100% present and efficient in your work, right? Because a lot of people switch gears, but then they can't actually get, produce any really good output, right? It's not just switching gears to say, I think nowadays, how many people say they do 6 different things? Oh, I do this, I do this, I do this. Well, what do you do well, right? And so like making sure that whatever we have on our plates, especially from an NFL standpoint, it's like we're able to do it and do it well, because if not, then they're going to find someone else who can come in there and do it well.
Totally.
Yeah, I think for me, the thing that I love about the Ivy League and Ivy League football is I think it's one of the last places in college athletics where you're truly a student athlete, in the sense where you're a full-time student, and a lot of times being a student's your first full-time job, and then after that you get to play football. And so football was always such a privilege to play, in high school and in college. It was something that I looked forward to all day, and you worked hard in class, kind of just to get to practice and get to Saturdays and play the game. And with that, you didn't have anyone holding your hand all the way through. We didn't have, somebody checking in on you to make sure you ate 3 meals a day, or that, you had every book you needed in class, or, just all these things that you might be there in a 1A program. And so I think Penn kind of teaches you, what you need, and maybe the things that are excess. And I think that's helped me a lot in the NFL, especially in this time of quarantine. As long as I have a field to run on and a weight room to go into and a playbook to study, that's kind of all I've needed through my whole football career, high school until now. And so it's been good in this time of transition, just to focus on those same basic things that have got me to this point.
Yeah, I think kind of going off what Cope said, when you're a college student, you don't really have a choice but to keep going and going and going, especially if you're a student athlete. You have the same expectations and workload that non-student athletes have. And we all went to Wharton, and we heard from day one, hey, this is the real deal. This is a cutthroat business school, like best and brightest. And, it was as advertised. And I think you learn time management in that regard. And ironically, getting to the NFL, you almost have more free time than you did when you're in college, because that's your job now. There's no other thing that you're doing. And it's like, in college, you're a student and you're an athlete. So you're doing two things. And, I know I had a work study. I think Cope had a work study. So we also had like jobs on the side that we were doing. So it was a lot. And then you get to the NFL, and you're used to like, okay, I need this 15-minute block here. I have to do this, that, and the other thing. And then it says, hey, man, like, this is my job. This is all I have to do in a day. So it's like, oh, okay, I guess everything I do now is about my body, my technique, my footwork, my mind, how it relates to my job. So being at a school like Penn definitely gets you ready for any job, especially if you're a student athlete, and you live on 40th Street and you got to get down to Franklin Field, and it's like, you can't be waking up 10 minutes before practice. So it's definitely a grind, but it definitely prepared us for what we're doing today professionally.
For sure.
I want to also jump in there really quickly. If I think another thing that I think about as well is like, it also prepares. While we were there, we had some, top-notch facilities in the sense of, we got a brand new weight room and all of those types of things. And so the facilities were A1, definitely better than a lot of colleges. But I think still, when you go to an NFL facility and you see such an amazing emphasis placed on football and football only, from nutrition, supplements, meals, the entire staff, the entire city, caring about you, especially coming from University of Pennsylvania, where football is big at Penn, but it's not Alabama, right? It's not Jets football or Patriots football, right? I think it gives you a different appreciation as well for the little things, right? Like I remember as a rookie in Baltimore with the Ravens, our GM was an Alabama guy, so they had a bunch of Alabama guys on the roster. And I remember some of the guys joking about, oh man, this cold tub, this hot tub, this is smaller than Alabama, right? And I mean, to me, this was like the size of a damn room. Like this was a pool that just for the cold tub, and you got sauna, steam room, and everything like that. So for me, I'm in heaven. And I think that even like a little detail like that appreciation just helps you stay in the building a bit longer, helps you take advantage of all of the resources, because we understand what it's like to not have that at our disposal as well. And that helps.
And that's like a perfect transition to what I wanted to ask next, which is, and Jay Watt alluded to this also, is just like the Ivy League football and being not only like being like the true student athlete coming from the Ivy League, but also more broadly being the FCS. You're not a Power Five. You're not coming out like from these crazy facilities. And there's not as many of you guys as there are from those Power Five when you're in the league. So I guess like my questions are kind of twofold. One, is there any like added sense of camaraderie, I guess, whether it be Ivy League or FCS amongst you guys, that you feel like you came from a similar background and were able to really make it in the league? And I guess secondarily is, what advantages or disadvantages do you think that you had coming either from Penn, Ivy League, or just an FCS vantage point versus those guys coming from the Bamas of the world?
I'll take this to start. So coming from a smaller school and a smaller program, or a program that is not traditionally a good football program, will definitely hurt a player. And being undrafted is definitely a knock on you, regardless of how good your career is. I found that out in free agency this year, and this is my 9th year in professional football. You know what I mean? So everyone's like, well, he was a free agent. It's like, what does that matter? I've played for 8 years so far, so like, shouldn't matter. So there is that extra camaraderie when you see a guy that is coming out of a 1AA school, or, you know, D2 or D3, you know that that guy is legit if he's in that locker room, because the politics of football and the business side of it is such that if you're a scout and you're working for, you know, a personnel department on an NFL team, and you recommend a guy from Alabama and he doesn't really pan out, it's like, all right, well, he's come from the SEC and he's an Alabama guy. So you recommend the guy from nowhere state and he stinks, then you're fired. You know what I mean? It's like, we have shorter leashes, and so do the people that recommend us. So you really need to be that much better than other people to make it and stay in it. So yeah, there's definitely a knock on you, and there's definitely an extra sense of camaraderie around you.
Yeah, I'd say it if anything, it probably hurts your pocket. I mean, I think, to be quite honest, I mean, if there's the things that we've done in the league, and not braggadocious or anything like that, it's just more of like, if we would have done that and we had gone to an Alabama or an Ohio State or something like that, we'd be, I mean, our names would be all over ESPN tickers, and, you know, and again, so it's exactly what Greg said. It's like, you have to work twice as hard or 3 times as hard to just get the same amount of credit as a person who has the quote unquote football resume, right? It's the same thing in the professional world. You know, they're looking at the resume. Oh, this kid went to University of Pennsylvania. He went to the Wharton School. Oh, he's prepared for this job, right? Well, when you're in the football world, they're looking at your football resume. And I mean, unfortunately, the Ivy League is not highly touted or anything like that. From a football standpoint, I will also, just answering the other part of your question, and I don't know how the other guys feel. I think when I see other Ivy League guys, it's definitely like a, you know, like a mutual respect, a mutual like, oh, we definitely have to, you know, shake hands and all that type of stuff afterwards. Other FCS guys, no offense, I don't really care unless they went to like a Nova and played when we played, or William and Mary. It's like, I recognize it and it's pretty cool, but like I'm more, I guess I just understand it's that halo effect, you know, going into that Penn education. I remember one class we talked about halo effect that's similar to me or whatever, right? Like, I understand the Ivy League track. So, you know, even guys I've never met before. I remember James Devlin, and he just retired, but he's a Brown guy, fullback on the Patriots, right, and everything like that. We spoke after the game last season and everything. You know, it's just, you have a different type of respect, I think, for Ivy League guys because they're more similar to you.
For sure.
Yeah. You know, one thing that's kind of been funny to me, when you're coming out as an FCS guy, they're talking about like, oh, can you play in high pressure situations? And man, I find that funny because I think it's at some point, so it's almost the opposite. You know, I heard one of our scouts talking about a prospect, and he said like, oh, that game against Florida got him drafted. And I like kind of stepped back and I thought, that game, you know, you can play one really good game in the SEC and that could do it for you. That could get you your step in the league. And you know, you look at a guy like Joe Burrow, you do that for a whole season, you could be a first round draft pick, first overall pick by having one good season. And man, at a smaller school, you got to do it week in and week out over a couple years. So I think the pressure is even more so because one bad game against a small school where you don't look like an NFL prospect might be it for you in college. But I mean, I loved FCS football, and I think the beautiful thing about it is hearing stories of guys that play 1A. Everybody wants to go to the NFL. They're focused on themselves going to the NFL, and when you get in the NFL, it's about me getting my next contract for a lot of guys. And most of the guys we played with knew that their train stopped at after 4 years at Penn. And the beautiful thing about it was, then all they cared about was winning. Everyone's focus was on the team and winning and getting a championship and not on my own personal success that then launched me into the NFL. So that was the one sweet thing for sure about it.
You fed my transitions perfectly every single time, because what I was going to get into next is coming from Penn, like a lot of guys realize that, you're 4 years of playing football there and that's it for your professional career. But you also, or not even professional career, there is no like professional career beyond collegiate. But you guys ultimately pursued a professional career in football despite coming from Penn and having other opportunities to pursue other professional interests. So what really, I guess, kind of fueled you, and what did you take into consideration to want to go for it in the NFL and to like put all your eggs into that basket despite having this kind of unique vantage point and these unique opportunities?
I think that, you as a little kid, your dream is like either like play football or, go to the moon or do something like that. So for me, it was, I want to be in the NFL as long as I could remember. And, it's always in the back of your mind, like high school, like, oh, it's pretty good in high school. Then you go to school like Penn, like, this is pretty good football. And you play a couple of years and then you come up to your senior year and you just kind of have a moment, for me at least, where I was like, I think I can play at the next level just based on how I played so far and how the people that are supposed to be, the first round picks at offensive line, how I stacked up to them physically. He's like, we're both 6'3", we're both 300 pounds. Like, I think I move better than you. I think I might be stronger than you. So why do you get to play and I don't, because I went to Penn? So I've always had that attitude of, if you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to prove you wrong. And it might take me a while, but I'll eventually get there. So throughout my career at Penn, I just played at a pretty good level. I was all Ivy a couple times and got to the point during the end of my senior season, it was like November, December. I was like, I'm going to train for a pro day and I'm going to, go after this. This is my one shot to do this if I want to do it. And, then the spring comes along and everyone's either got a job or they have interviews for jobs and graduation's coming up. And that's when you kind of like double down. Like, all right, I'm not going to go interview at a bank or do something like that. And like, I'm going to keep working out. Like, I didn't go away on spring break. I stayed on campus. I worked out and I was just like, I'm going to get myself in the best physical shape that I can so that I look like an NFL player when I have a pro day or whenever I get in front of a scout, whenever that may be. And, you just kind of, it's not something that happens by accident. And it's something that has to be very intentional. And, it's something that we'd all be kidding ourselves if we didn't say when we started playing football, whenever we were, that like, I'm going to play in the NFL one day.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I would add on that. I think it's extremely tougher for Greg to make it to the NFL in the sense of like, he wasn't looking at someone else already in the NFL where he kind of like that law of attraction, mentally says, oh, okay, well, I played against this guy who is in the NFL now. I clearly can go. But like me, for example, I went against Greg every single day in practice. Greg was already in the NFL. There's stories coming out about Packers camp, about the undrafted free agent out of Penn who hadn't lost a one-on-one the entire time, right? No offense, I beat him in one-on-ones all the time. But I was able to look at Greg and, oh, wow, like I can do this as well, right? So it's not to say that, without his example, I wouldn't have been able to do like he has done, but clearly having him as a mentor, having him as a big brother, right? Like, it was able to feed into me and also just build my confidence. I mean, when I got into the league, I remember telling my teammates at the time, or I guess it should, well, my Penn teammates at the time, former teammates, there's a lot of guys in the Ivy League who could make it and play in the NFL, but just mentally they don't believe or they never give themselves a shot. And I think what you've seen all of us do, like literally the common thread here is like, we all like, I guess what's the war story where you get off on to the island, so to speak, and you burn all the ships. Like, we all literally did that, right? Like, we didn't have a backup job. I remember interviewing and going into a final round of interviews, going into, finishing up that spring semester of senior year, right? That winter had a final round of interviews. And I just told them, politely, like, actually, you know what? I don't even want to do this, because if I get it, I'd rather keep the relationship nice, right? If I get it if I get a chance to go to the NFL, I'm going to the league. Like, it's not, so I don't even want to waste your time like that, right? So just burning the ships. And the last thing I'll say, especially from a Wharton mentality, a business mentality, we all think about investments, right? Investing. And what Greg just spoke about with Jay Watt, I know we'll probably talk about, is like, we were investing in ourselves, like the same way people will talk about, I put in money into the stock market this time and let time take care of itself, right? Our investment has always just been our work ethic, the sacrifices we're willing to make. I didn't go on spring break senior year of college, right? Like, I stayed in, right, the entire time and worked out. I didn't drink my senior year spring semester, right? The first drink I had was after rookie minicamp in Baltimore, where I thought I was going to get cut, right? That was damn near a week before graduation. So I was like, hey, the hell with it at this point, right? But, like, those sacrifices are the things that people don't talk about. I'm not drinking right now. I'm on the middle of a damn diet type of thing, and I think that, a lot of people, there's this Players Tribune article from LeVar Arrington called A Letter to Myself. If anybody gets a chance to check it out, I definitely recommend it. But one of the things he talked about is a lot of people look at you as like a overnight millionaire as soon as you sign that contract. But we've literally invested, like, while our friends were out spring fling and chilling, right? Like, we were still out at spring fling, but we made sure we got in the extra reps, we got in the extra sets, we got in the extra running, we did the extra reps at practice, we pushed each other. Greg was following me around the weight room, making sure I squatted, literally, like, and so I think that is something that all of us have in common, is the investment, but also once we made the decision in our mind to say, this is what we're doing, burning those ships, burning the bridge, and let's go forward. The only way is forward.
Yeah, it's funny, man. I don't think I've fully heard, Cope's story of his time in college, but it's, the formula was kind of the exact same on my end. Like you said, it was awesome having both these guys ahead of me in the NFL. And after my freshman year, I had a pretty good season, and I thought, hey, if I can be one of the top guys in the Ivy League, then maybe I can make it in the NFL. And Greg and Cope coming back to campus, and I remember cherishing every time they come back and talk. And I remember Cope talking about, I think it was his grandfather and the trash can, and if two guys get in, and I mean, that was like, I love that, and I've taken that mentality to so many things in football since I've heard that. And I think too, like you said, burning the ships. In my mind, I always thought of that scene in the Batman movie with Bane, where he keeps trying to jump out of the cave, and he's got the rope attached to him, and he can't make it. And it's not until he finally takes the rope off and jumps, knowing that if he falls, he's going to get hurt, he's going to get messed up, things are going to go wrong, that he finally puts everything he has into it and gets over. And so like Cope said, the same thing happened for me. I was in the final round of an interview with Goldman Sachs the fall of my junior year. And so it was 2 years away almost from the NFL draft. And that's when I decided, hey, I'm putting everything I have, every ounce of my investment time, everything is going towards football. And Cope said, and Greg said it, it paid off. But it's, in that moment, it's tough and it's stress filled for sure.
For sure. I think that's a perfect segue into my last thing, which like you guys all touched on. Before I do that, I just wanted to like remind everybody who's attending that you could still submit questions to the Q&A, which we'll get to when we're done. But speaking to like your different interests and like your different potential professional opportunities that you didn't pursue because you went to the NFL, what are you guys looking to do down the line? What are like some of your future aspirations? Did they really change over time since you've gone into the league? Cope, I wanted to start with you here, just regarding your class that I know you brought up before, that you teach at Penn, like in the spring, and I know like I watched the video with you with the Athletic last week on IG Live, and just like talking about financial literacy and like how important that is to you. So
Yeah.
yeah, I guess
Yeah.
you want to start.
Yeah. So for me, so I have my wife and I, we started a foundation Beyond the Basics Inc. Actually, shouting out my dog Greg. He just sent over a big donation. Going to feed a lot of people with the donation that he sent over. However, but we have a foundation called Beyond the Basics Inc. Our goal is to help people help youth, young individuals realize their full potential and expose them to different opportunities. I say all that to say, when I look at the financial literacy thing that I've been doing, it's a part of the community give back, in the sense of like my goal. There's a lot of things that I learned for the first time in the league with money that there's no reason why through 16 years of education at some of the best schools in the nation, we didn't talk about my credit. We didn't talk about how to buy a house, right? Like my wife, we bought this house that we're living in now, which we eventually plan to turn to a rental whenever we move to a forever home. I remember her FaceTiming me because I was in the middle of the season, and she's like, "Hey, does everything look right?" They had scanned the contract over and sent it to me, and I'm like, "Shit, I don't know." Excuse my language. I'm like, "Damn, I don't know. Like, I've never seen a house contract. It's like 40 some pages and all these different numbers. The realtor says it's okay, who we just met, 5 weeks ago. So let's hope that this 15-year contract we're basically signing our lives over. Hopefully this realtor isn't just getting one over on us just to get a 3% fee, right? And it shouldn't be like that, right? Like, and so for me, 401k, retirement plans, all of those types of things. I also think about my mom, who's worked her tail off to provide for myself and my brother, my dad as well. And it's like, if they would have known some of these financial literacy, or not even financial literacy, let's talk money, like money tips, money loopholes, money things that they can do, right? Maybe my mom would have taken some money and putting it into the stock market if she would have trusted it more or understood it a bit better. Someone would have taken the time to break it down to her, right? But in general, so for me, it's about trying to teach people how to fish, so to speak. We've gotten, I'm sure all the guys on the phone here have gotten a lot of different deals and financial education opportunities because of the money that they've gotten while in the league, or the money that they've earned while being in the NFL. It shouldn't be that way, right? Like, somebody working 3 jobs right now, right, trying to provide for them and their families, and we can teach them something, or I have taken it upon myself to collaborate with people to teach them something that can make it easier for them so they can focus on the things that really matter, like spending time with their family. So for me, that's part of the community give back. In terms of the other things, I'm interested in, I'm an entrepreneur at heart. For me, football has always been startup capital. It's always been a means to an end. I am more of a culture builder or influencer, in the sense of like, I want to help people do great stuff and do it in a relaxed way, a fun way, and let's make money while doing it as well, right? So whether that's real estate, whether that's this online platform that I'm creating right now, or venture investing, whatever it is, I'm basically, I tell people now, I want to do what I want, when I'm done football, and that means obviously being a husband and father every single day, but being able to put on the real estate hat for a few hours today, or for Tuesday, and then turning around and being able to just find ways to give back to the community on Wednesday and Thursday, and then Friday doing nothing if I want to, right? So for me, it's about football as a means to an end.
Nice. All right. I'm going to cut you,
really
Justin. Two things.
Right.
One, apparently Joe Flacco just signed with the Jets, so that's pretty cool. Speaking of small school guys. Two, not going to be as long-winded as Cope. The guy's got a million things going on. I respect him. Don't know how he does it. I'm in like a different boat. I'm not really sure, what I want to do when football's over. And it just kind of goes back to my whole mentality of what got me to football in the first place was not really having a plan B. And not to say that I haven't been thinking about what I'm going to do when I'm done, because, we're all former players, just not yet. It's like a classic NFL saying. And I'm kind of at peace with that. Like, you know what? I'm not sure what I want to do, but I do have a Wharton education. I've considered, going back to school and maybe getting an MBA or, maybe working in the business side of football, just because I have so much experience and knowledge of what goes on behind the curtain and, what it takes to kind of make it in the league. But I'm not sure. And I think the beauty of that is I can kind of choose what I want to do because of the education that I have and because of the living I've been able to earn playing this game. So it's not like I'm like, all right, I got to find something to do right now. But I definitely, hopefully, will have opportunities. And, when the right one comes along, I think I'll be able to know what it is and, just dive headlong into that.
Jay Watt, before you go, it's with Flacco. The first Q&A that came in was like, "What are your thoughts on Flacco signing with the Jets?" And I was like, "What a bizarre troll job, like to start." But apparently that is real, so that's interesting. But in any case,
That's funny. No, I'm kind of along the lines of Greg, in the sense of I'm not exactly sure what post football I want to do. But the one thing I will say, kind of to Cope's point, is I'm certainly using the platform that I have with football right now to prepare me for whatever is next. And someone told me that while you're in the NFL, everyone's going to pick the phone up whenever you call. So use that. And so I've tried to use football to network. Try to use tickets as investments instead of always just giving tickets to friends. Give tickets and things like that to people that you might see yourself in business with in the future. And then, even take advantage of all this time we have. You have so much free time in the NFL, plenty of time to work out and watch film and still have time. So during this quarantine, I've been starting to learn coding. I don't know if I'll ever use it, but it seems like the finance world's going there and I got time. So just like anything else I do in life, trying to worry about today and tomorrow and not too much focus beyond that.
way better than me. I've done like little things to no avail. So congrats on that. So all right, I guess let's just get into it. Before like I do some Q&A, I just wanted to ask some lightning round questions. Just like very simple, straightforward answers. So whoever wants to take it to start, go ahead. Favorite teammate in the NFL thus far?
Elodie Nada.
Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Mine would have been Cope, but he left. My favorite teammate is probably honestly Cam Newton.
Yeah.
That worked. That's really cool. Let's go with, I guess, reverse order this time. Why not? Favorite guy that you've gone up against?
Favorite? Like,
most like either like the best guy that you played or just like, holy crap, I'm going up against, like, I watch this guy's film forever, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, yeah. Favorite would be like, this guy stinks, I'm going to have a great game. Best guy I've gone up against was last year, season opener. We played the Rams, and I had to go against Aaron Donald, who, like, was just a nightmare to prepare for, coming off just being in the Super Bowl, watching that film, and I'm just like, it's going to be a long afternoon. But I played well, and it really kind of actually was an insanely huge confidence boost for me because, you go into a game like that. Sorry for the long answer, but you go into a game like that, and you're like, this is going to be like a make or break moment, I think, in my career. And, he had no sacks. I played really well against him. And I was like, all right, that means that I'm pretty good at what I do. So I shouldn't be afraid of anybody else that I play this year because they're definitely not better than this guy.
Yeah. As I said, I think mine cornerback wise is probably Richard Sherman, and I always admire guys who can play skill positions for a long time in the NFL because when your speed and strength and certain things start slipping a little bit, still be able to survive on your wits and whatnot. Was cool going against him and seeing some of his tricks. And then we talked about it a couple of weeks ago, but I was on punt protection one time, and you got to block a rush, someone coming out of punt, and it was like 4th and 1, so they left their defense on the field, and I lined up, and Jadeveon Clowney was lined up in a 4-point stance across from me, and I had to block him. So that was I don't think he gave me his best move, but I think I could in another life take Greg's job as far as pass protection.
I'd love to see that.
Nice. I'll go with Laramie Tunzel and Trent Williams. I think both of them just extremely athletic. Trent Williams, 320 pounds, ran a 4.81. So he's literally
he's bigger than that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
he's bigger than that.
He's got to be probably like 340. But just athletic human beings. What? Also, the guy Trent Brown. The guy, oh my gosh, he's on the Raiders now, I want to say, but he was like 6'8", 360, moved like a basketball player as well. But yeah, those are fun days.
I thinking about it, yeah, you're right. Favorite is definitely just like, who am I gonna absolutely demolish today? Yeah, good point. All right, awesome. Just interest of time, I just wanted to get to a couple of like Penn specific questions, and then I'll get to some of the Q&As so we can wrap up. So going back to Penn again, like quick, whoever wants to take it first. Favorite class at Penn?
Samba.
My favorite class was negotiations, because I thought I was going to be so good at it. Like, I'm from New York, like bullshit artist, all this stuff. And I go into a negotiations class, and I was terrible. I was getting just worked over by everybody. And I was like, all right, I'm not very good at this. So that was definitely one of those classes where I was like, I got this, and I didn't got this. So I learned a lot in that class.
Yeah, that was a good one. I got to give a shout out. Professor Aslino, there's a class called Great Story Collections, and it was really cool. You went through famous stories for the first hour, and then you told stories for the second hour. And for as much of a easy class as it seemed, it was hard to come up with stories and tell them in front of a class, but I think it really prepared me for, being able to speak at events and say funny stories that are appropriate, in front of large groups and stuff. So actually a lot of application to a class that I took because I thought it was going to be fun.
Hope you're on Samba?
Yeah. Samba was awesome. Samba was a really good relaxing time, but actually Management 100 really fun for me. We ended up going and we had to split up into group projects, and we had to teach a bunch of elementary school kids and middle school kids fire safety. So it was pretty different, but obviously first semester at Penn, we were literally up as superheroes going into schools and all of that type of stuff. So it was different, but very, very fun looking back on it.
Oh,
I have a quick Management 100 story. Didn't happen to me, but it happened to one of my buddies. You plan the event, and you work with a group of people, and like you don't know these people. You're thrown in together day one, and they're from all walks of life, all different backgrounds. So, one, football, Penn, kind of a big deal. Not really. The average student probably doesn't care. And I remember my buddy's group. He was a running back. He was a starting running back. And they were planning I think it was a block party or something like that. And they were trying to do it on a weekend or something like that. And I think it was they picked a Saturday in the fall during the season. And my buddy was like, I can't do that. Like, I have a game. And one of the kids in his group was like, yeah, but don't you have 10 games? And this is just one block party. So can't you miss a game for the block party? And he was so floored. He was like, and the TA was just like, yeah, I don't think that's how this works. So it's just a hilarious Management 100 story.
Unfortunately, that's legitimately the most Penn thing I've ever heard. But that's besides the point. And I guess, again, interest of time, I'll just combine a couple of questions here. Actually, nah, screw it. I'll just go to a Q&A thing that someone asked that's basically the same thing, which is your favorite non-football memory from Penn.
Okay.
PG. Keep it PG, fellas.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Rolodex.
go too high up there. You guys look. Favorite non-football memory.
Justin, you were just there. I feel like I was there like almost a decade ago.
Yeah,
Not many that.
Like I said,
Golf
it seems like when you're a student athlete, your whole life, you're always something's football related because you're either with a teammate or something. But favorite non-football memory. I think for me, honestly, a great memory and a great just moment was that first time you got in an interview room and you get your first like internship, real job, and I don't know, it's kind of your first step of becoming a man, and part of going to being a student athlete at Penn is you don't get that instant gratification of a big football school and everything else, but you know that the investment now is gonna be worth it later, and that was something that was cool. It was just your first step, feeling the benefits of all the work you put in.
I don't know if this counts as like a favorite memory, but it's definitely something I will never forget. It was my senior year, and it was towards springtime, and finals are coming up. And I remember I was invited to, I believe it was the New York Jets rookie minicamp, and it was like it's a Thursday to Sunday sort of deal, and we were supposed to have an accounting 102 final on Friday. And obviously, senior spring, and I'm taking accounting 102, so it tells you how good I was at accounting. Just putting it off to the last second. And I remember like talking to my professor, being like, listen, I essentially have like a job interview and I'm not going to be here. Can we reschedule it? And one of my teammates was in the same position. So he's like, yeah, you guys can take it Monday. So I remember we got back Sunday afternoon from the mini camps. We were in the GSRs for the entire afternoon, evening, early morning. And we walk into the accounting 102 final, and we're sitting in the big, classroom, the stadium seating, all that. We're sitting across each other, me, him, and the TA. And we get like the test, and the Wharton tests are, it's all blue book, and you're just like, everything's kind of related. So if you don't know 1, 2, and 3, like you're really going to struggle 4, 5, 6, and 7. I just remember flipping through, trying to find like something to start with. And my brain was like mush. And I was just like, this is going to be a long test. And it was one of those tests where you have to send an email after to the professor explaining, your performance and asking for mercy. And it was the only time I ever had to do that. And he gave me the grade I deserved, and it was sufficient enough to, pass the class. Barely.
I love it. Yeah, for me, I'll probably say, I always enjoyed like the spring flings and stuff like that. Not even just like the party, but just more of like it just seemed like everyone on campus was just happy for some reason, right? Like it was one of the few times of the year where you don't see a bunch of people in GSRs, you don't see a bunch of people rushing to class, right? During NSO, that's during training camp for us, so we might get one night type of thing, but like while everyone else is enjoying, we're like working in the toughest work of our entire season pretty much. So I would say spring flings were just always good times and good memories. Like it just felt good to be on campus and be a Penn student.
Feel that for sure. That's awesome. All right, great. So about like 5 minutes left, so I just want to get to a couple of questions that people have been asking. A couple of common themes. I'll start with the biggest one, which is, as you were alluding to, obviously, like weird times now, we're not sure what the season's going to look like. So being that, and J-Watt especially, like you're supposed to have 5 primetime games, like this is going to be crazy altogether. So how would you guys feel about playing without fans in the stands? And is that something that you like would feel, I guess, comfortable with, or how would that transition be like for you?
It's going to be strange. I was a union rep for Carolina, so I'm kind of have like a little bit more information than most people do on these things. And I was talking to our union president last week actually about this, and I was just like, we're doing the virtual OTAs now. It seems like we're kind of on the path towards OTAs are going to be online and training camp is going to start close to on time, whether that's late July or early August. And I was like, what are some like things that you guys are discussing that maybe are pretty difficult things to answer that, we don't know what to do right now? And he said something interesting. He was like, we're trying to figure out what to do if, let's say there's no fans or there are fans, irrelevant. Let's focus on the players. What happens if, you're playing a game on Sunday, you have your day off on Tuesday, someone on your team contracts coronavirus and you get tested Saturday before the game and 20 guys have it? Like, what happens then? Do those guys not play? Do we all have to sign releases saying we're okay if we get it? And the reality of the situation is that the NFL is a business, and you're seeing a lot of governors, suggesting that, pro sports should go back. And it's because there's so much money in the business that the TVs are giving ridiculous amounts of money to the league. The league is paying the players. So it's just like circle of, if you're not getting your money, then we're not going to pay you, and we can't pay the players. And it's like someone's going to be compelled to act. So regardless of if there's fans or not, I think there is going to be football, just because the players, we want to get paid, and the owners want the TV money. So it's like, I think that's how it's going to be. And the fans thing is another difficult question, because, being in New York, if you're at Penn, you saw how it was in Philly, but you go down south and they're just kind of like, what's the big deal? So it's a little bit different down south, out west. So, and it can't be state by state, because it's like, we're all over the country with teams. So it's a very, very difficult problem to solve. And they're not making any hard and fast plans, because they don't know what the world's going to look like in a month, 2 months, 3 months. And to answer the question, sorry for the long, build up. It would be bizarre to, for me especially, going home, play for the Jets, grew up a Jets fan, towards the end of my career, MetLife Stadium, home opener, run out of the tunnel, lifelong dream fulfilled, empty stadium, quiet. It would be so strange. The fans are so important. I know this sounds like a canned answer, but it really is. Like, they add to the energy and the environment, and they make a game more fun. So they would be dearly missed.
Yeah. Greg knows more about all that than me. I would just say, yeah, it would stink. It would stink not having any fans there. And like I said, the energy of the game and the flow of it is, so much of it is tied to fans, and certainly football wouldn't be the same without them.
Yeah, I think they've all hit it. I guess the best thing is we all, it's not like we've always played in front of 100,000, 70,000 fans and stuff. So I'm sure we'll find a way to adjust. However, there's nothing like, that's the best feeling in the world. You play football for, to make a play and hear the fans crazy, right? Like, that gets you juiced. So,
or hear the fans go dead silent, which is what happened when we played in Philly 2 years ago, and they were up 17 and we scored 21 in the fourth quarter. That was the quietest I'd ever heard professional sports stadium in my life. It was such a weird but like memorable, cool experience.
That's awesome. That's great. Love that. Honestly, I think it's 5 o'clock. That's a pretty good place to stop.
Happy hour.
Let's do it. Really appreciate you guys coming on. Thank you so much. Best of luck, rest of the off season, guys switching new personnel, new teams, whatever it might be. Really appreciate the time. Have a good weekend, everybody. Thank you all for coming on. Appreciate it.
Appreciate y'all.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, guys. Happy Memorial Day, guys.
Have a good one, man.